This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
All right, let's go. First one of 2018. I've only written and said 17 a few times in this first week, so I'm considering myself doing okay. January 6th, 2018. First program is a busy one with a lot to get into because there's a lot happening in the NHL. Lots of the world of hockey and more. Scott Billeck from NHL.com will join us. We'll talk Winnipeg Jets. Jets with a victory over the Buffalo Sabres on Friday. And they got Dustin Byfuglien back in the lineup too, so we'll get into that. Our friend Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk also with us in hour number one to talk all things NHL. We usually have a very meandering conversation that weaves into a bunch of topics with Sean when he joins us, and always look forward to it. Corey Hirsch, the radio analyst for the Vancouver Canucks, also coming up on the program. The Vancouver Canucks in action on Saturday. One of a busy schedule of 9 games on the Saturday schedule. The Canucks are in Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs. And our new book of the month for January is entitled The California Golden Seals, Tales of White Skates and Red Ink. Author Steve Currier will join us. We pick a new book every month just to highlight kind of a nice hockey book. So Steve, the author of the California Golden Seals, The Tale of White Skates and Red Ink, will join us. Some interesting stories about the California Golden Seals and their short-lived existence, but they did create an impact, and there is still an affection and following for the team from the West Coast. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports are the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. It's also where we are looking for your nominations for the first Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day for 2018. It's something we do every Saturday. We ask you to send your nominations for the Dog of the Day to us via social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, and use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a nice photo. Tell us your name. Tell us the dog's name, how you two came together, how you two met. And it's just a nice story, feel-good thing that we like to do every Saturday and highlight great dogs with great stories. If you're up on our Facebook page earlier, I put up a little video. This would be a cool thing if you can teach your dog to do it. There's a beautiful dog, and she's been dealing with the weather by sledding. She's not with her owner. She does it herself, takes the sled back up the hill for the snow and everything. It's pretty cool. Check it out. It's up on our Facebook page. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis here every Saturday, every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, powered by Primetime Radio. And we're happy to be back and into a brand new year, 2018. The wonky schedule of games will sort of get back to normal as we move into next week. Everybody's been dealing with this outrageous weather that's just been pummeling people and causing all sorts of travel havoc. And there's iguanas falling out of trees in Florida. It has been so frigid cold. If you're traveling, hopefully you're getting there. Just do so safely. Take it easy and try to be a little patient as best you can. Hopefully you get to where you're going, and hopefully everybody can get there safely. We have got all-day hockey today, which I'm always pleased about. We've got afternoon games with St. Louis and Philadelphia starting at 1, Edmonton and Dallas starting at 3 o'clock Eastern. I like that. That's something fun to look forward to. 9 games in total today, and it's a busy Sunday as well with another day of all-day hockey. 10 games starting in the afternoon. The World Junior Hockey Championships wrapped up in Buffalo on Friday night. A couple of thoughts on that whole tournament in just a second as well. But we're into the second half of the NHL season. The scrutiny is going to get a little more intense on teams, on players. Everybody's going to be watching the standings a little bit closer as well. And for some, the reality of their situation and their circumstances is going to start to sink in. And this is what we're going to focus on over the next couple of months into the second half of the year. Friday night, the magical season for the Vegas Golden Knights continued. They got a victory over the Chicago Blackhawks. Detroit Red Wings won their 4th straight game. For the first time in a calendar year, they won 4 games in a row. How about the Ottawa Senators, who came from 3 goals down to win in overtime against the San Jose Sharks? I mentioned the Jets continue to have victories on home ice, especially. Dustin Byfuglien got back into the lineup. And the Pittsburgh Penguins showed why they are two-time Stanley Cup champions. A shutout victory over the New York Islanders. The Islanders have been, well, let's just say stumbling along of late. But we talked about the Pittsburgh Penguins a week ago. Daniel Sprong was called up by the Penguins. Last night, he gave them what they were looking for. Daniel Sprong had 2 goals plus an assist. It was a 4-0 shutout win. Tristan Jarry made 31 saves over the Islanders. He got the shutout. So a couple of things that I've been talking about with the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is the kind of game that you need to see from Pittsburgh. This is who the Pittsburgh Penguins are. They play fast. They're intense. They use their skill and their speed to take over a game, and they came out on top against the New York Islanders last night. This is what they can do. This is what they are capable of. They had it done to them the night before by the Carolina Hurricanes, but they put the beat down on the Islanders last night, Friday night in Brooklyn. So much focus, so much attention on the acquisition of Ryan Reeves. Oh, they got the big hulking forward from the St. Louis Blues in the offseason. That's not the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jamie Oleksiak came over from the Dallas Stars. He's a galoot. He's like 6'7". That's not the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's speed. It's skill. That's what wins games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. We need more evidence. We need to see more of that. Evgeny Malkin scored a nice power play goal. Oh, and that Sidney Crosby guy, of the 4 goals scored, he scored 1 of them, assisted on the other 3. He's still pretty good. That's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby, for the second game in a row, was caught on television with the iPad in his lap when he's sitting on the bench, young players hanging over his shoulder, and he's looking and pointing out things to them. That's the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's the kind of game that they need to play. The victory by the Penguins moves them past the Islanders in the Eastern Conference wildcard standings. They're now a point ahead of the Islanders, but still a point behind the Carolina Hurricanes for the final wildcard spot. That's the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're into the second half of the year. I expect to see more of this now. Second half is going to be fun to watch. I figure the Pittsburgh Penguins will crank it up and get moving in the second half of the season. I mentioned the World Junior Hockey Championships, and we haven't talked a lot about that because we cover the NHL on this program. And there's a couple of things, though, about this tournament that I wanted to talk about. It's finished up. It's in Buffalo, and there's been a bunch of stories over the last 24 hours or so about what went wrong with the tournament, the discussion about the attendance. Congratulations to Team Canada for winning the gold medal. It was a tight, close game in the final game. Tyler Steenbergen, nice story, didn't get played much, got the game-winning goal. The other story from this game on Friday night has to do with Team Sweden and their captain, Elias Andersson, who was incredibly emotional after losing. It was a late goal by Team Canada that gave them the victory. He was incredibly emotional, the captain, Elias Andersson. He tossed his silver medal, took it off, tossed it over the glass and into the crowd. He did get it back afterwards, but he's getting a lot of grief about the incident, and a bit too much for me. Pressure and adrenaline are a bad combination sometimes, and I think that's what happened. Swedes were the favorites for this tournament. They were expected to win. They didn't. You lose the game in dramatic fashion. It's an emotional moment. He lost his composure and in frustration went, got rid of the gold medal. I get it. There's a bunch of people who are saying, oh, it's a disgrace. It's terrible. He should be reprimanded and that kind of garbage. Let's cut the kid some slack. The last thing he needs right now is a bunch of people in his face all over him about this. How about a big hug, and how about a shoulder to cry on, and let him be emotional? This is a huge stage. This tournament has seemed to get more and more hyped every year. It's country versus country. This is the highest level that some of these teens will play at. Overreaction, emotion, I get it. It happens. It's not pleasant. I think later on in life, he'll come to realize it was a great accomplishment to win a silver medal and captain Team Sweden at the World Junior Championships. First person who has never done anything emotional or foolish when they were a teenager, they can be upset about this. I don't think we'll find anyone like that. But that was just one of the things that kind of bugged me about this tournament. It's just become such a hype machine. So many people asking and offering suggestions about what went wrong with this tournament this year. The attendance was terrible, according to some people. Yeah, you're right. Attendance was down. And I get it. Compared to some previous tournaments, to previous tournaments in Buffalo when it was held there, or others in Canada. But are the expectations so far out of whack now that they're unrealistic? Holding this tournament in Buffalo immediately causes some people to suggest, oh, it'll be great because it's a good hockey market and Canada's close by, and the Canadians, they'll just flood over the border and will sell thousands and thousands of tickets. They'll cross over, we'll fill the place. It's a big deal in Canada, and it is. But organizers thought that holding an outdoor game would also be a way to generate a big crowd, and it did. And they got some significant ticket sales. But there's people that have been outraged that there were only 8,000 people in the stands to see a Team Canada game against Finland in the preliminary round. Now, tickets for these games aren't cheap. Single game nosebleed tickets, about $30, as I understand. Packages of games where you get multiple games, better seats, they're significantly more. It's still junior hockey. Oh, sure, it's a big tournament and it's teams from around the world. It's still junior hockey. Who's also going to spend that kind of money to watch lopsided games? Because we see a bunch of them every year. 8-2, 7-1, the bronze medal game that Team USA won. Lopsided. Is this really worth the time? Is this really worth your effort and the money involved? I'm sure it's nice to see your team win, but to win 8-1? I don't know about that. Getting on a player who loses a gold medal for an impulsive, emotional act, that's what this tournament has become. There's a lot of things to like about it. Sure, there's some good talent on display. You get to see what's coming and what will likely be a bunch of players in the National Hockey League for many years. But this kind of stuff, like getting on a player who has an emotional moment and a bit of a meltdown on a public stage, that's frustrating. The other one that kind of bugs me about this tournament, the stalking and pouncing on players at the World Junior Championship training camp by Canadian media members who are badgering players who were just cut from a team and also having emotions that they have to deal with. Minutes after that happens, they're badgering them for comments on the decision and hoping that they'll cry so that it's a good visual for their TV coverage. Have we reached the point where the hype for this tournament has actually passed the reality? I think so. Go back a decade. Canada was winning gold after gold after gold after gold, and everybody was all in, and everybody wanted all in. Sponsors wanted to come out. They wanted the World Championships to be held in Canada every year. Gold medal pace has slowed down. Sure, they won last night. Hadn't won since 15. That has an impact. This ridiculous suggestion that, oh, well, the tournament's in Buffalo. People from Canada, it's like a 20-minute drive. They'll just hop right over the border and they'll fill the place up. Nonsense. Unless you live in a border city like Fort Erie or Niagara Falls, which aren't the biggest cities, it's not a 20-minute drive. And you think it's easy just to zip on over and cross the border? Especially during the holidays, there's usually a bit of a lineup to get across the border. But the silliness that started to take place with this tournament, overhyped, unrealistic expectations, the highs and the lows, this feigned controversy about, oh, there's only 8,000 people that showed up. It's a disgrace. You know what? I'll be the judge of what I spend my money on and do with my time. That's not up to you. Oh, they'll flood the place. They'll come right over the border. They'll be rushing to get over the border. No one rushes across the border. Have you tried to cross a border recently? No one rushes across, especially during the holidays. And then there's all this after Christmas sales and stuff that's going on. So there is a bit of border traffic, not to mention that there's a blizzard every now and again that slows down traffic and often closes highways, as occurred during the World Junior Championships. This shaming of people because it's a disgrace that they didn't show up. Give me a break. I find that really frustrating. It's the same kind of frustration I find about NHL teams when fans aren't showing up. Oh, we've got a hockey team. It's your obligation to get out and support them. No, it's not. It is your obligation to produce a product that is entertaining and fun and winning that will draw people in. It is not fans' obligation to show up just because you swing open the doors. You have to compel them to come in. That's the way it works. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Dog of the Day nominations coming in now. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We will select our first winner of 2018 before the program wraps up. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk later on this hour. In the next segment, Scott Billeck from NHL.com with the latest on the Jets with another win at home, 4-3 over the Buffalo Sabres last night. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com. Also on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Available now for download at the App Store. Powered by Primetime Radio. Corey Hirsch, radio analyst for the Vancouver Canucks. Later on in the program, author Steve Currier with our book of the month, California Golden Seals, Tales of White Skates and Red Ink. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. Also coming up on a busy Saturday, 9 games, including some afternoon action. It follows a 5-game Friday night where the Winnipeg Jets were victorious once again at home. Scott Billeck covers the Jets for NHL.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Scott Billeck. He joins us now. And Scott, I think the expression and the sigh of relief by Dustin Byfuglien said it all last night after he scored the first goal by the Winnipeg Jets against the Buffalo Sabres. Just opened his arms and let the applause wash down across him at the MTS Center.
I was going to say, it was quite the celebration, wasn't it? Kind of mixture of relief and I don't know what else. I mean, he was just, elation and that sort of thing. I mean, I think it was 33 games, which is kind of fitting given that's his number. But, and then he had a 10-game layoff due to injury too. So he kind of had to wait for that one and work for it. It's not like he hasn't been shooting the puck. It's not like he hasn't been, the same offensive Dustin Byfuglien as Jets fans have seen, but it just wasn't going in for him. And so, it was good to see him get that last night. I think that was a monkey that he needed off his back. The team needed off his back, especially with some of the injuries with this team, getting that scoring from the back line, which they did last night, with Jacob Trouba also scoring. I think that's just, it was a good sign for the Jets, and probably a good omen for Dustin Byfuglien as well.
We've seen other defensemen struggle at times this year. Brent Burns went a long stretch before he scored. Erik Karlsson, another elite defenseman like Byfuglien and Burns, also has gone a long time between goals. It happens, but it's just when they're a big personality, the way Dustin Byfuglien is, sometimes it gets a little bit more attention. I think as much as anything, it's good to have him back in the lineup after missing the 10 games, as you said, especially because of the other injuries that the Jets are dealing with. They are going to need more scoring and a little more offense generated from the back end, with Mark Scheifele being out long term.
Yeah, I mean, having Byfuglien back gives you that physical presence that he just kind of brings. If they call it an angry buff or that sort of thing. If he gets angry on the ice, usually it's a good thing for the Jets and a terrible thing for the opposing team. But you talk about the injury to Mark Scheifele, and huge. 6 to 8 weeks without one of your top scorers, one of the top centers in the National Hockey League, and just the way that kind of trickled down the lineup with changes, and 3 days after that, Brandon Tanev got injured, and you're gonna kind of think that Brandon Tanev is a huge part of this Jets team when you look at some of the other talent like Patrick Line and Blake Wheeler and obviously Scheifele. But that kind of, with those two injuries, they had to reshuffle all of the lines. And so, you don't have that top line with Wheeler and Kyle Connor and Scheifele anymore. The Scheifele's gone, and you don't have that third line that had been so good at shutting down the other teams, because Tanev's gone now, and they moved Joe Armia up. And so, it's just this huge reshuffle kind of, in the middle of a season where the Jets are doing so good, and to have that happen, it could have been kind of a bit of a death sentence for them. But a few games since Scheifele's injury, and the Jets are doing well, and Blake Wheeler's move to center is kind of, he's been telling the media the whole time here that he'll play anywhere and do anything for the team to help them win. And his move to center has been seamless. Brian Little, after the game, talked last night. He's like, he basically said, I haven't seen a guy move to center from the wing like that and be so, just be so good in that situation. And Wheeler's put in kind of a tough spot, having to move off the wall into the middle, where he's not he used to play center, but it's been years since he's had to do that on a long-term basis. He played a little bit last year with Scheifele. He was out for a couple of games, but yeah, it's been an interesting transition for this team, but I think you can see the depth that the Winnipeg Jets have, that they can move this lineup around, and everybody kind of just buys in. And there's the depth and there's the buy-in, and it all seems to be clicking right now, and they haven't really missed a step.
Scott Billeck is our guest, covers the Winnipeg Jets for NHL.com, on Twitter, at Scott Billeck. The Winnipeg Jets winners on Friday night over the Buffalo Sabres by a 4-3 victory. It was an interesting move by Paul Maurice to, as you talked about, to move Blake Wheeler into the center. Maybe it was last year that he recalled that Blake Wheeler played a couple of games for the Jets at center when Mark Scheifele was out. I'm not sure, and maybe it's the combination of the other injuries that you mentioned as well. But an interesting move. Someone like Blake Wheeler is maybe more capable of doing it than other players, though, because as you mentioned, he played a little bit of center, and he has such great experience and is such a great leader for the Winnipeg Jets. Maybe playing the center spot and having the point production he has in the last 4 games since Mark Scheifele has been out is going to get him a little more attention too, for the talent that he is.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. He's got 5 goals in those 4 games, and it's just before that he was kind of been on a bit of a struggle. He moves to center, and it starts to click for him. And yeah, it's interesting. The leadership. And you mentioned it. I think that's the biggest thing that comes from Blake Wheeler is that like I said, he'll do whatever it takes for this team to win, and he's been through some lean years here in Winnipeg where the team hasn't made the playoffs and have fallen short. And I think he's driven by that, wanting to make the playoffs, wanting to go on a deep push. I mean, you think about Blake Wheeler, and he was traded to the Atlanta Thrashers the year that the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup. So he was traded from the Bruins to the Thrashers, and he kind of missed out on that. And I think Blake Wheeler, you can tell when he talks, he wants to win. He can be a little prickly with the media sometimes. When you lose, there's just everything that he does. You think of what a pro athlete feels when it comes to winning and losing, and Blake Wheeler kind of wears that on his sleeve. And so I think as soon as this, and we talked about it last night with Paul Maurice and even Wheeler himself talking about what do the Jets do now if Blake Wheeler's playing so well at center? When Mark Scheifele comes back, then what happens, right? Like, do you start putting Scheifele and Wheeler and then moving Brian Little down to the third line? Like, it's an interesting situation that could play out for the Jets when Scheifele returns. We're talking late February now for that, but it should be some interesting times ahead for the Jets when they get healthy again.
I'm sure that's a problem that Paul Maurice won't mind having, is where to fit all of these talented scoring players into his lineup, whether it's going to be the second or third line. I'm sure he'll be okay with having that kind of problem. The other thing I want to ask you about is that Patrick Laine got a lot of attention early on in the season. Oh, hockey is so difficult, and he was very upfront with his quote, and he hasn't had that much attention lately, but look at the halfway point of the season, he's got 18 goals and on pace for, 35, 37, 38 goals this year. No such thing as a second year slump for Patrick Laine.
No, and it seemed, and we talked about this before, I remember being on your show and talking about, it seems to kind of propel him when he talks about his confidence. He has this weird way of dealing with low confidence where he kind of just beats himself up and then just magically gets better. And it's very interesting. Very interesting way. I think a lot of people would love to deal with confidence the way that Patrick Laine does. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't scored in the last few games, but he's on a 6-game point streak or 5-game point streak with 6 assists. He's doing well. And he's doing maybe, I think a big criticism of Patrick Laine's game was, well, he has this world-class shot and all this stuff, maybe he doesn't, play better in the defensive end and that sort of thing. And he's a guy that's had to pick up his game a little bit too with Scheifele gone, because, kind of the whole team has had to do that. And so, I think, one of the things with Patrick Laine, he's 6'5" and 220 pounds, somewhere around there. And he's starting to use that body a little bit, starting to use that body a little bit more, kind of in that physical presence. And so I think, maybe it's been a more, like you say, a quiet year, I guess. But, I think he's kind of starting to try and round out his game a little bit more. Not always going to see that on the score sheet. But you're going to kind of see it when you watch this team and just see if he's having maybe a bit of a different impact when he's off the puck.
Hey, just before I let you go, Scott, one more quickly. It was almost the nice way to round out the victory too. And that last face-off before the Jets sealed the victory, is Evander Kane had to move in and take the face-off for the Buffalo Sabres. So the Jets fans got another opportunity to boo him. But you know what? If he hadn't left town, Tyler Myers wouldn't have shown up. Joel Armia wouldn't have shown up. They've got some pretty good assets in that deal. There was a bit of drama, and it wasn't a good fit with Evander Kane in Winnipeg, but it's worked out pretty well for the franchise.
For sure. And, you talked about, you had Tyler Myers in that lineup last night. Joel Armia was part of that trade. There's a lot of pieces of that trade still with both teams, right? And, the Jets fans were chanting best trade ever at one point last night, And it's interesting, they showed, it was a funny thing. I don't know how much time we have, but like during the national anthems, they show Zach Bogosian, right? Huge cheer. And then they show Evander Kane, and it's a huge boo on the thing. And it's interesting how, Kane was, a half-decent player for the Jets. He just didn't, like you said, didn't kind of work out for him here. But, last night was an interesting game. The Jets, it was kind of one of those risky games, those trap games. And, the Jets, it's not a game you wanted to lose. And the Jets, managed to pull it out in the end. And I'm sure for some of the players on the team, sticking it to Evander Kane is always something they want to do.
Scott Billeck from NHL.com covering the Winnipeg Jets. At Scott Billeck is how you follow him on Twitter. We've always got time for a good story like that, Scott. Don't ever worry about that. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott Billeck from NHL.com with the Winnipeg Jets. You know, it wasn't a good personality. The personality of the Winnipeg Jets and the personality of the and Evander Kane, it didn't fit. Wasn't a good fit. Move on. He's going to get traded by the Buffalo Sabres before the deadline, and he's going to help somebody, and somebody's going to sign him to a big free agent deal in the offseason. Wait and see. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. In our next segment from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk, Sean Leahy will join us, and we'll talk all things NHL. Back with much more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way, and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. This is the Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. We're live at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, available at the App Store. Corey Hirsch will join us later on. We'll talk about the Canucks and Maple Leafs game later on tonight. Author of the book of the month, California Golden Seals, Tales of White Skates and Red Ink, Steve Currier, also coming up on the show. We'll get you set for 9 games on a busy Saturday schedule. Happy to welcome back our friend who is an advocate of raisin-free trail mix. You can also check out his stuff regularly on NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. Follow him on Twitter at Sean_Leahy. Sean Leahy joins us now. And Sean, I want to ask you about the World Junior Championships, first of all, from last night. About as dramatic an ending to a tournament as you can get, with Team Canada scoring late in the third period. It was a huge emotional win for Team Canada, but really emotional for Team Sweden as well. And I think Elias Anderson is getting more grief than he should have for his tossing of his medal last night.
Yeah, I think it's funny that a lot of people are really dumping on a 19, 20-year-old kid for, obviously he was clearly upset with this was their last chance for that age group to win a gold medal, and they didn't get the job done. But about 10 hours before that happened, we had an adult professional hockey coach get mad at his team during practice and fire his stick into the top of the lower bowl. So I'm not sure why Anderson's getting all this hate when Glenn Gulipson, who is a little more mature than a 19-year-old hockey player, pretty much did the same thing. And I don't know, it's just silliness. I mean, it was an emotional loss. He's a 19-year-old kid. They obviously wanted to win. And look, would you rather him not care? Right? I mean, if I'm a hockey coach, if I'm the Rangers, I like to see that fire in Anderson. He cares. He cares about losing. He wants to win. That's his mindset. And yeah, maybe he'll look back in 10 years from now, and maybe he'll say, he'll second guess the decision. But it was an emotional moment. Heat of the moment. Things are going to happen. He got the medal back. He said afterwards, he didn't really care for it, but he wants to win, and that's the kind of hockey player that you kind of want on your team.
Yeah, I agree. And who in their teenage years didn't do something emotional or impulsive at some moment? I think everybody is guilty of doing that at least once or twice. You mentioned the emotional win for Team Canada because they weren't really the favorites to win this tournament. They found themselves in the final. It was a close game right till the end. It's kind of a nice story that a little used player gets the game-winning goal. But my question about the tournament is: has this whole thing now become hyped beyond realistic expectations? There's the shaming of people that because the attendance isn't overflowing for every game, suggesting, there's only 8,000 people for a first-round matchup. That's shameful that people aren't filling the building. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's absurd. And I think the expectations have grown far beyond what's realistic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And some years are going to be better than others, but you also got to factor in ticket prices. There are some blizzards up there in Buffalo. And the fact that I still don't understand why they put most of these games in NHL-size arenas. I like the idea in Buffalo this year where they had it in Harbor Center. It's a smaller rink. You don't have the Canadas and the U.S.'s playing there, so it's not going to look as sparse as attendance as other games. So save the NHL arenas. Next year it's going to be Vancouver. Have the Canada games there, obviously, because I'm sure they'll sell out pretty well, and maybe the Canada-US game there too. But save the bigger games in the tournament for the bigger arenas. Let the smaller games, the not hype games, in those secondary arenas that they pretty much use for most of these tournaments. Because you look on TV and it's just you're watching the game on TV and it sounds like there's 10 people there, and it's. Like you said, it's been overhyped, right? Every year we're talking about these 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, some of whom may be drafted in June, some of whom have already been drafted, but many aren't going to be having long, fruitful NHL careers. And the funny thing I also find about the World Juniors is once the World Juniors is over, you don't really see that coverage extended into junior hockey for the rest of the year. Memorial Cup, there's a big prospect. So there's just this 2-week tournament at the end of December gets all this hype, and then a lot of people start to forget about who these players are as soon as it's over.
Agreed. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk is our guest. At Sean_Leahy is how you follow him on Twitter. Let's shift over, talk back about the NHL again. Through the first half of the season, we've documented so many of the really cool stories, successful teams in both the East and the West, whether it's Tampa Bay, whether it's the New Jersey Devils, whether it's the Vegas Golden Knights were an amazing story. I'm kind of interested to watch for the next little while which teams have managed to, in a sense, keep their nose above water, but also start to make their move up the standings. In the Eastern Conference, there's a couple I've been watching in Carolina, although they've burned me on so many occasions. I think maybe we're going to hear from Carolina moving through the third quarter of the season. And the Pittsburgh Penguins are another one. Since I haven't been as panicked and worried about the Pittsburgh Penguins as some people, I think they're going to be okay in the second half of the year.
Yeah, I mean, with Carolina, it's funny how they've been pretty much saved by two things. One, the loser point by getting 8 of those this season, but also two, going back to the old hand in Cam Ward, who play over the last several years was the reason why Ron Francis went out and traded for Scott Darling's rights and signed him. And once that happened, I think everyone thought, okay, this is finally going to be the year Carolina takes that step forward with all that young talent on the roster. and it's Cam Ward who's pretty much saving things for them. So I'm curious to see how long that's going to last, because we know that young scoring is going to keep producing, because Aho, Teravainen, Lindholm, and obviously the veterans in Skinner, Stahl, and Justin Williams are going to do their thing. So I think everything is really much going to rest on that goaltending, whether it's Cam Ward continuing to drink from the fountain of youth, or Scott Darling finally getting himself right. And for the Penguins, I mean, they've played a lot of hockey the last couple of years. We know that they, two Stanley Cup hasn't been done in 20 years. You kind of figured they were going to maybe get a little bit of a slow start this year, because the key trait for every Stanley Cup champion, especially for the Penguins teams, was their depth. And when you lose guys like Chris Kunitz, Nick Bonino, and you can't replace them with quality players because you're so tied up close to the cap. You can't spend that extra money to fill up your depth. You're going to need those guys coming up through Wilkes-Barre and through minor trades like Riley Sheahan coming in to produce. And they got that the last couple of years. The Connor Shearys, the Jake Gensels, the Brian Rusts, the Brian Dumoulin's. These guys have come in and filled big roles and helped them win. This year it hasn't quite happened. They had a nice win last night, and they're just sitting right outside the playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. And Jim Rutherford is kind of known to making a mid-season trade, and right now they're in a spot where you got to expect, if you don't start stringing together a bunch of wins over these next couple of weeks before February 26th, we could see a couple of trades on his end to try and keep this winning thing going with the Penguins.
In the Western Conference, they're similar but different, in the sense that they've had success, they've won Stanley Cups, but I don't get that same feeling from the Chicago Blackhawks that I do the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a team that I keep waiting for them to get themselves started, get themselves moving in the right direction, but they've also jettisoned players after having success, winning cups. They've had long seasons. I'm just not getting that warm and fuzzy from the Hawks this year that they're going to be able to kick it into the next gear and climb into the postseason.
Yeah, crunch is finally getting to them, and certainly not having Corey Crawford, who was having a fantastic year before he got hurt, and having him out by the lineup indefinitely, according to the Blackhawks, that's not going to help things. And it's the same thing with the Penguins. Once you have to move those guys out, or you can't re-sign certain guys because you're so tied up in certain salaries where you're close to the cap, that next wave has to come through and produce. And they have some young kids there who are playing well, but they're not playing well to the degree that the Blackhawks have been used to and have been getting. That has been the reason why they've won Stanley Cups in the last couple of years. I mean, there's some nice pieces there. I'm sure they certainly miss Artemi Panarin. Brandon Saad's had a nice season, but Artemi Panarin, I think you'd probably rather have him at the moment right now, playing up top with one of those top lines. So it's like the Penguins too. You almost don't want to count the Blackhawks out just because there's still plenty of good veterans on that team, well coached, and you just had this feeling in your stomach that they're going to be there, towards the end of the season. But it's getting late, right? We're at the midpoint of the season. Teams are going to start adding pieces or dropping pieces from the rosters as the trade deadline comes up. So I'm curious to see just kind of over this next month, just how they react, and then also how Stan Bowman reacts, depending on where they are come the end of February.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation there. Leaving the Hawks aside, though, we've got Dallas and Minnesota holding the wild card spots as of Saturday morning. Anaheim is on the outside based on percentage of points in games played. One of those teams is not going to make it to the postseason in all likelihood. Is there one that you think might be on the outside before it's all said and done?
If I had to pick one, I think it might be Minnesota. It just doesn't seem like, they're not, Bruce Boudreau, all he seems to have done in his career is win division titles during the year. And certainly that's going to be a big ask now this season, with the Central being how it is, with Winnipeg, St. Louis, and Nashville up top. Because I think one of the main reasons why I'm counting out Minnesota is, I think this is the year Dallas finally is going to get it together. They got Ben Bishop. Their defense is playing well. John Klingberg is playing fantastic. But also, I think Anaheim is going to be the scary team in the second half. They've done a marvelous job of staying, around that playoff bubble while being ravaged with injuries. Ryan Getzlaf, Ryan Kessler, getting great goaltending with Ryan Miller and also John Gibson. And when they're 100% healthy, if that happens this season, they're going to be a team. I think it is going to be a team to watch in the second half, and a team who could threaten to really make a deep run in that conference.
Yeah, it's going to be, the best part is it's going to be fun to watch for all of us in the second half of the season. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk, at Sean_Leahy on Twitter. Always good stuff. Enjoy it, my friend, and we'll do this again soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely, Todd. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Appreciate it. Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk. That's a tough question to answer. Who's going to wind up? Dallas and Minnesota in at the moment. Anaheim, same 47 points as the Minnesota Wild, but they've played one more game. And then the Hawks, they've only played 40 games, but they've only got 44 points. But I don't know, just watching that game last night between Vegas and Chicago, it's a little hard to get excited about the Hawks, and you just keep waiting for it to happen. But I'm not getting the same feeling about the Hawks being able to do it in the second half the way I am the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Eastern Conference. We'll talk more about the games tonight, games last night, and a whole bunch of other stories from this past week as well. I'm pretty sure we're not getting it all in today, so it's a good thing we have another couple hours tomorrow. Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 D's. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Saturday edition. We're back again Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, all powered by Primetime Radio. Also live on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube Live. Busy second hour coming up. Great guest lineup as well. Our friend Corey Hirsch, the radio analyst of the Vancouver Canucks, will be with us in hour number 2. And also Steve Currier, who is the author of our book of the month for January, The California Golden Seals, Tales of White Skates and Red Ink. Yes. Looking forward to hearing some good stories about the California Golden Seals. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. That's where we're looking for your Dog of the Day nominations as well. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We look for them every Saturday on our program to recognize great dogs in our lives. Send us a picture, send us a little video clip if you like. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Tell us your name. Tell us the dog's name. And if there's a story that goes along with how you met or why your dog is special, we'd love to hear that as well. At Hockey Unfiltered on Instagram and on Twitter. Videos, photos, and a little story. We look for it, and we recognize the dog with their picture being up on our Facebook page and up on our website in the Dog of the Day gallery. Typical busy Saturday. Not the busiest Saturday, but a pretty good lineup of games. St. Louis Blues and Philadelphia Flyers will kick it off at 1. There's a 3 p.m. Eastern start as well between Edmonton and Dallas. Some late games worth staying up for. Nashville and Los Angeles, I think. The Anaheim Ducks are in Calgary to take on the Flames. I don't know. How serious are you about the Calgary Flames? It's hard to get excited about them. And as Sean mentioned in our last segment as well, Sean Leahy from NBC Sports Pro Hockey Talk, Glenn Gulutzan had a bit of a meltdown at practice on Friday. Yeah, there was that was just one of a couple of stories actually about the Calgary Flames. The Flames had a victory against the LA Kings on Thursday, and then the next morning, I guess they weren't into it as much as Gulutzan would have liked them to be at practice. Little lax, little taking it easy. So Gulutzan blows a gasket, chews them out in this F-bomb filled rant, and then for good measure winds up and hurls his stick up into the seats. So, of course, this gets the predictable reaction of the have you seen it or you got to see it treatment on Twitter and social media and on other websites. Now, the players afterwards, I think, handled it pretty well. They downplayed it, just kind of blew it off saying, yeah, he had a message to send. Said we weren't intense enough, said we weren't really into it. So, message received. We're fine. Watch the video if you want. I'm not going to go all out about the video. I thought that this was, I think we're getting to the point where these are predictable now. Okay, the first one that happened, coach gets upset, breaks his stick, smashes it on the ice. Okay, it happens. It's maybe impulsive and maybe not planned. Second time, I don't know. But this is at least the third occasion now this has happened. This is totally staged. Just watch the video if you want, but I have a few times this is totally staged by Glenn Gulutzan, if you ask me. He's trying to motivate his team. Great, we had a victory. We're still way out of the playoff picture and have a long way to go in the second half, and he's trying to get his team motivated. He knows that there is a throng of media in the seats at practice. They're going to be taking notes. They're going to be shooting video on their cell phones, and they're going to be tweeting it out, and they're going to be calling their editors saying, oh, you won't believe this great video I got for the website. He knows all his players are going to get asked about it afterwards. He's sending a message. That's one way to do it. Now, you can't go ballistic and throw your stick and rattle off a bunch of F-bombs in a minute and a half every day. You got to pick your spots if you're going to be that kind of coach that does that and do it at the right intervals. I'm not sure if this is the right one for the Calgary Flames yet. They still got a long way to go. Maybe it helps. Maybe it helps get them on a roll, which is what they need to win a whole bunch of games to kind of climb back into the fight in terms of the playoff picture, because they're still mired behind Chicago and Colorado and Anaheim right now. They're a few points ahead of Edmonton, but they're also a few points behind Anaheim, and they've got a long way to go. I don't know. Totally staged, totally planned. This was not impromptu. Watch the video. This was a plan. I'd go so far as to say I think that Gulutzan probably didn't use his gamer when he went out onto the ice. He probably had some hack junk stick that he was using that he knew was going to get thrown into the stands at some point. Looks like it was planned. Looks like it was staged. If it works, okay. You can't do this too often, though. There's another story in Calgary, too, that's getting a little bit of attention. I suspect will be talked about a little bit more on Hockey Night in Canada tonight, and maybe over the next little while. It's kind of being downplayed, but the Jaromir Jagr saga in Calgary also continues to bubble along. Signed much to the delight after the season was underway, the traveling Jagrs in Calgary, they were all thrilled about it. Fans that still believed he could be a contributor, they were all excited about it. A lot of loudmouth members in the media thought it was a great idea to have the old man in the NHL because it made for easy material for them. Smart-ass comments on their Twitter accounts. How dare you not sign this? They said it to NHL general managers via social media. It appears, though, logic and reality may be returning and taking over. It's just not possible for someone in that age bracket to compete on a consistent basis in the NHL. There's no shame in that. He's had a brilliant career, and he'll be on the red carpet right into the Hall of Fame as soon as he calls it. But he refused to accept the reality, and it kind of got caught up in the, now what do we do? The complicit media looking for likes and retweets got on board saying, somebody's got to sign Jagr. Somebody's got to sign Jagr. Let's get the movement going. Somebody sign Jagr. I'm not taking great joy in saying I was right about this because it hasn't come to an end yet, but it will. I don't know that he lasts the season. He's out day to day again with a lower body injury. Does there come a point, maybe the All-Star game, where both parties come to an agreement and say, you know what, this really didn't work out as we had anticipated. We'll just tear this contract up and say, thanks, that's all. Maybe Yags can go play in the Olympics. See? Maybe that'll make everyone happy. He's not capable of playing in the National Hockey League. I said it in the summer. The big name free agents, Shane Doan, cut loose by the Arizona Coyotes. He was upset. Jerome McGinley has been very low-key and done a much better job at handling it. Jaromir Jagr, it took on a life of its own. It became a story. It became a mission of some to get Jaromir Jagr a contract. We need Jaromir Jagr in the NHL. Except he can't play at the level that's necessary to compete on a regular basis in the NHL. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in being upset that when a team breaks up with you and ends that relationship, and that's what it is. Arizona said, you know what, Shane, you 20 great years, but thanks, we're breaking up with you. LA, the latest to say, Jerome, we're breaking up with you. It's going to happen again with Jaromir Jagr and the Calgary Flames. It's emotional. It's difficult. You've got to go through the stages of grief and emotion and recovery, and it's hard. But it will come to an end with Jaromir Jagr, and he will move on and celebrate a great career that he's had in the National Hockey League and internationally, and we will as well. Hour number one, just about done. Busy second hour as well coming up. Corey Hirsch will join us. Author Steve Currier will join us to talk about his book, The California Golden Seals, Tale of White Skates and Red Ink, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Back with much more right after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Novo product design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova product design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
That is a cute picture of that Pom puppy nominated as the Dog of the Day. Oh yeah, we're looking for your nominations this hour as well. Hashtag is HU Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Nominate your foods or a food you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. Tweet it to us, send it on Instagram, email if you wish. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We'll pick a winner before the hour is out. Also joining us this hour, the author of the California Golden Seals, Tales of White Skates and Red Ink, Steve Currier, will join us. Also coming up, analyst for the Vancouver Canucks radio network, Hirsch, former NHL goaltender, will be with us. It is a busy hour as we cover off the 9 games on the Saturday schedule, look back at the 5 from Friday, and much more. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. We're live at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app every Saturday, every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, with all kinds of unfiltered hockey talk. Hopefully you're having a good weekend. It's the first full weekend of the 2018 year. It's still a bit of a wonky schedule. The weather is hellish in a number of areas. Super cold, ridiculous cold, crazy winds. Be careful if you're still traveling, doing some holiday traveling and getting back to work, getting back to school and preparing for that and getting back to full normal, I guess is what we'll call it next week. We'll keep you company for the next hour. Lots of good hockey talk, lots of stories in the NHL from this past week. Some good games on Friday night as well. Pittsburgh Penguins, big winners over the New York Islanders, 4-0 shutout. This is Pittsburgh hockey. Fast, speed, skill. Sidney Crosby, he's good, in on all 4 goals. Scores 1, helps set up the other 3. Daniel Sprong, called up a week ago. Oh, he's got 2 plus an assist. That's the kind of young talent, speed, and skill that will rejuvenate the Penguins lineup. Oh, it was Tristan Jarry who had the shutout and has been playing well as of late for the Pittsburgh Penguins also. Detroit, how about the Detroit Red Wings? Had a victory over the Florida Panthers on Friday night. Florida was impacted by weather. They had to get out of Boston early, and that game against the Bruins, supposedly to take place Thursday, is going to be rescheduled for late in the year. But the Florida Panthers went to Detroit and lost to the Detroit Red Wings, or more accurately, goaltender Jimmy Howard, who stole the game for the Red Wings. Panthers were outshot 2-1. I mean, they were peppering Jimmy Howard, who was calmly making blocker save, glove save, chest save, pad save. He was brilliant in goal on Friday. Andreas Athanasiou scored another sensational goal for the Red Wings. Wings have won 4 straight. First time in a calendar year they have won 4 consecutive games, but I don't know. I still can't quite get excited about the Detroit Red Wings. Still too many teams to climb over. Still don't strike me as a frightening team to play against, whether you're going to Detroit or whether they're coming into your building. They don't strike me as a team you get frightened or concerned or worried about. There are ways to defend them. We'll see what happens, but I'm just not optimistic about their chances. Welcome to the Ottawa Senators, Matt Duchene, who arrived finally on Friday. Good of you to stop by. Matt Duchene was a key factor in the Ottawa Senators' 6-5 victory over the San Jose Sharks. Game went to overtime, and the Ottawa Senators managed to score the victory against the San Jose Sharks. Duchene had 2 goals, and that included the overtime game winner. Took him only 7 seconds. Face off at center ice in overtime, sends go up the ice into the Shark zone. Bang, it's in the net. Game's over. Also of note in this game, Ottawa Senators were down 3 in the third period. 3 goals down. You would think San Jose, even though they played the night before, they'd be able to bring this one home. Derek Brassard snuck in a rather malodorous goal. Wasn't a good goal against Arundel. He should have stopped it. I don't think Brassard really believed that it was going to go in. It was one of those, we'll chuck the puck on net and see what might happen. Well, it went in. Zach Smith got back in the lineup. Can they keep it going for a second straight night? Because Ottawa is right back in action on Saturday, playing host to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh, yeah, that's no easy task. So it's great that there's elation and celebration at a nice come-from-behind victory by the Ottawa Senators. Yep, down 5-2 in the third period. They score 3, get it even, win it quickly in overtime. Oh, yeah, your reward? You get to play the Tampa Bay Lightning the next night. It's tough. That's tough. But, hey, good for Ottawa. Take the victories where you can get them. Listening to Gary Galley, who's worked as an analyst on a couple of the games recently by the Ottawa Senators, I think brings up a good point about the Sens and their star defenseman, Erik Karlsson. I'm not sure that we're giving him enough credit and for the job he's done just to get back in the lineup after the surgery that he had over the summer and the significant recovery that's necessary. He came back way earlier than anyone ever expected. So I think it is reasonable that it's going to take him a long time to get back into shape. Remember the last time he had that serious injury with the Achilles and missed what was thought to be the whole season, but came back early? It was the year after that he was finally back to normal, much more like himself. We're probably seeing a similar sort of thing with Erik Karlsson and the Ottawa Senators, which of course brings up the whole question of, is it going to be in a Senators uniform? Because he's only got 1 more year left on his contract, and there's that whole drama. The Vegas Golden Knights score another victory on Friday. 5-4, they defeat the Chicago Blackhawks. Yep, for Vegas, their 8-game winning streak came to an end on Thursday in St. Louis. Good game, close game, 2-1. St. Louis Blues got the victory. No worries, though. Vegas came out blazing against the Hawks. They had 12 shots, I think, in the first 5 minutes. And if not for some good saves by goaltender Jeff Glass, that game would have been over. He did have a couple of goals, however, that went in later on that he maybe would like to have back. But Vegas took the lead. They had control of the game. Give the Hawks some credit for fighting back. They kind of got the game back to even. And they did get it back even on the scoreboard at the end of the second period. And you know what? They went up. In fact, Chicago went up 4-3 early on in the third period, and it would have been easy for Vegas to just fold it up and say, you know what? We're finishing this road trip. We're just going to go home. Would have been easy for Vegas to do that. 4-3, you're in Chicago against the Hawks. You know what? We played a tough one the night before. There's no shame in losing to the Hawks, except there is if you're a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. They got back even. Riley Smith stole a puck, scored what turned to be the game winner later on with about 6 minutes left in the third period. Vegas has won 9 of their last 10. William Karlsson, 21st goal of the season. Last night, scored it against the Hawks. Jonathan Marchessault scored against the Chicago Blackhawks, his 16th goal of the season. Oh, and by the way, signed himself a nice contract extension a few days ago. I'm okay with that contract. Earlier this season on the program, we were talking about the Vegas Golden Knights, and it was the question of what are you going to do with these potential unrestricted free agents as the season goes along? If you're doing well, and it looks like the season is going to be a successful one, and it is absolutely for Vegas, what are you going to do with these guys? Jonathan Marchessault is one mentioned. James Neal is another. And there's a few others on the Vegas roster as well. Jonathan Marchessault signed 6-year deal, $5 million per. I'm okay with that number. It was the how big a number is he going to want and for how many years question with Jonathan Marchessault. Good goal scorer, not a big player. How durable is he? He's had a couple of good years. Yeah, I can see that money. It's if it got above that, that would have become a real question. But a good contract for both. 6 years, it's not an 8-year deal. $5 million per, reasonable number, not an outrageous number. That's good work by George McPhee. And with all the talk that Gerard Gallant has received for Coach of the Year for Vegas, do we not also have to give George McPhee General Manager / Executive of the Year for all the work that he's done with the Vegas Golden Knights? All the work that they went through, finding, scouting, interviewing, and determining which players they were going to draft in the expansion, which players they were going to draft and then move. He's done a nice job with that team. He's done a really nice job with that team. He should win that award as well. It's been a remarkable year for Vegas. Amazing early season success. It turned into what has been a fairy tale story. Whole bunch of cast-offs from other teams, guys that we felt we could expose in the eyes of their former clubs. They've come together with remarkable force. There's been obviously a variety of circumstances. Are they going to fade a bit as the second half of the season moves along? I've mentioned before, their schedule gets much harder in February and in March. Are they going to fade a bit? I expect they will. I don't think it's a big deal. It appears, even with that tougher schedule, even if their record of victories slips back, maybe they only win 6 out of 10 instead of 7. Even with that happening in the second half of the season, it seems a foregone conclusion that they are making the playoffs. Maybe they won't win that Pacific Division, but they sure look like they're on pace to be in the postseason. So it's an amazing story. It's an amazing run for this year. With this kind of inaugural season, though, there is going to be a level of success expected for year 2 and year 3 and beyond. You don't want to have this kind of season, this kind of explode out of the gate, win a whole bunch of games, get into the postseason, and how they do in the postseason is irrelevant. But to blow through and make the playoffs in your first year, have this kind of an amazing run, and then in the 18-19 season, take a big step back. That you can't afford to do. You can't fall off the map. This first year magic doesn't last forever. So enjoy it while it's there. They are the feel-good story. They're having a great year, winning a whole bunch of games. Their building is rocking. They're packing the fans in. They've started a wait list for season tickets. Everything is going in the right direction for Vegas. But next year, enjoy it while it's happening, but think about next year, because you're going to have to plan for that as well. At some point, year 1 is going to come to an end, and you have to be ready for year number 2. You can't come out and be flaccid right from opening night in October and carry through the season. If you do, you are going to start to give up and give back all of that goodwill that you have built up in year number 1. You want to keep that. You want to build on that. We've seen how teams expected to do well sometimes fall back. Vegas can't afford to do that in year number 2. They cannot have an incredible winning percentage the way they have in this season, but they can't fall off the map. They don't have the They don't have the cachet. They don't have the long-term credibility that some other NHL teams do that, oh, well, you know what? It's an off year. They'll bounce back next year. If they go from huge success in year number 1 to bottom dweller in year number 2, that's a big problem for Vegas. Because the expectation from their fans, whether they're local or whether they're in the ever-growing population of Vegas fans throughout the world, is that they are going to have some success. And if they don't in year number 2, then quickly it'll be, flash in the pan, just a one-year wonder. Those players weren't maybe as good as we thought. Those are the things you're going to have to watch for. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Looking for your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us your photos. Send us a little video clip if you like on Twitter, on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We pick a winner every Saturday. The photo will go up on our website, goes up on our Facebook page, where there's a nice video of a dog sledding, by the way. A dog on a sled, not pulling a sled, but on a sled, sliding down the hill and doing it herself. That's the really cool part. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, a little Canucks talk, a little goalie talk with Corey Hirsch right after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Saturday edition, here every Saturday, here every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, also live on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube Live. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You'll get each of our weekend shows, Saturday and Sunday, plus our little Saturday podcast. They drop Wednesday afternoon. It's a bit of weekend in the middle of the week. That's why we call it the Little Saturday Podcast. Just a way to keep the conversation going about things that are going on in the National Hockey League. This past week had to do a little bit with the Edmonton Oilers, Patrick Maroon and his suspension of 2 games, the second of which he'll be serving today when the Edmonton Oilers take on the Dallas Stars. One of 9 games on the NHL schedule. Carolina Hurricanes are in Boston. It's a good matchup. Carolina and Boston, that is a good matchup. Also, Tampa Bay Lightning in Ottawa to take on the Senators. Sens with a big victory last night over the San Jose Sharks. In Toronto, it is the Vancouver Canucks against the Maple Leafs. Our pal Corey Hirsch is the radio analyst for the Vancouver Canucks on Sportsnet Radio. At Corey Hirsch is how you follow him on Twitter, and he joins us now. Corey, do the Canucks mind playing at 7 p.m. Eastern in Toronto? I know there were some Vancouver fans, especially that get kind of ticked when the Maple Leafs are out west and TV dictates that they play at 4 p.m. Pacific time to accommodate television. Is 7 p.m. Eastern okay tonight?
I think we're good. Yes, it's funny. People are so fickle over little things, right? It's who cares? Just play the game, drop the puck, let's go. Both teams are here. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go. And I'm looking forward to this game tonight. Jacob Markstrom, I understand, is going to start in goal for the Vancouver Canucks, who want to have a nice bounce back game to start this road trip after a big loss to the Anaheim Ducks a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, they'll be much better. The game against Anaheim, they got behind early, and for a team that's challenged as they are with the injuries, that's tough. So the first goal is extremely important tonight. Toronto's won, I think, 80% of their games when they've scored first. So that first goal is big, and especially for the Canucks because, like I said, with the injuries they have and the players they have, they fall behind. It's a long climb back, but if they can get a lead early, then they're a much better hockey team.
Vancouver, even with the injuries that they have, they've become a fun team to watch because of the young talent that is up and coming on this team. Of course, Bo Horvat is one of those players. He's been out for a little while. But Brock Besser, maybe it's because of the West Coast thing. He is getting some talk, some discussion in terms of the Rookie of the Year. But if you're in the East and don't get to watch the Canucks play a lot, he is worth the price of admission. He is just so much fun when he rips that shot.
He really is, and he's like I'll compare him. It's early, but he's like a Brett Hull. He's like an Ovechkin. He's the shooter,
Yep.
And those guys are rare and they're hard to find, and they're worth the price to go watch because every time the puck's on their stick, they have a legitimate chance to score. There's other guys that get the puck on their stick. You're like, well, maybe it's going to happen, maybe not. Most likely not. Every time Brock Besser gets the puck on his stick in a scoring position, you expect him to score, and 80% of the time he does, and that's exciting to watch.
It is. He is just, and maybe that's the best compliment we can pay. He's just a fun player to watch, and the more of those we have in the National Hockey League, the better. One of the offseason acquisitions of the Vancouver Canucks I was a bit skeptical about, but bringing in Thomas Vanek has seemed to work out pretty well for the Vancouver Canucks this year.
It really has, and I'm hard on Thomas Vanek because he's not a 200-foot player. He's a guy from the red line in. On the offensive side is absolutely magic to watch. Some of the things he can do with the puck, remarkable. He's been great for Brock Besser. But if you know what you're getting, and he doesn't deny it, that someone else has to make up for his defensive lapses. And if you can play around that and work with a player's strengths, his offensive ability is worth every penny the Canucks have paid him this year. And what he's done with Brock Besser and that line, I can't even imagine where this team would be if they didn't sign a guy like Thomas Vanek at this point.
Is that something that fans and people in general get caught up in? Sometimes you look at a player and say, well, he doesn't do this particularly well, as opposed to, okay, he does have this great ability, whether it's goal scoring or whether it's winning faceoffs or something else. How can we put him in a position to succeed rather than griping about one area that is lacking somewhat in his overall game?
Isn't that so true? And as a society, we're a bit like that, right? We're like, okay, well, what's wrong with you? Let's fix what's wrong with you. How about we just work with, with what's, if we were trying to fix what's wrong with me, we'd be here all day. So let's work with what's good. And Tom Vanek is so good offensively in his hands. Like, I've started calling him the Magic Man because some of the things I've seen him do this year with the puck, absolutely remarkable. And you're right. You know what? We all have deficiencies in our game as players. And if you want to be successful as a team, work with the strengths. And, if you know what you get coming in and you know what you get exactly with Vanek, he's a pretty valuable player.
Corey Hirsch is our guest, radio analyst for the Vancouver Canucks broadcast. He'll be on the call tonight as the Canucks take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. At Corey Hirsch to follow him on Twitter. It has been a goaltending battle between Jacob Markstrom and Anders Nilsson for much of this year. Is one of them beginning to take hold and try to take that number one job and carry the majority of starts in the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think we've seen Markstrom take a bit more of a step than Nilsson. Nilsson had a good start, and then since then he's struggled a little bit, and a lot of it's due to injuries. They've given up a lot more scoring chances. But Jacob Markstrom has taken a bit of a step forward here. He's can make some remarkable saves, but both goalies are prone to that one bad goal, which really hurts. And until they clean that up, it's going to be hard for either of them to prove that they're number one goalies because, you look at Carey Price, yeah, he lets in a bad goal, but it's every now and then. With Markstrom and Nilsson, it's too often, and it hurts the team. So if Jacob Markstrom can clean that up and be a little bit more consistent, he can be a very valuable, high-end, possible number one goalie in this league.
How high is the speculation on Erik Goodbranson and his future and where he might wind up at the February 26th trade deadline?
Yeah, and that's the big elephant in the room here is that everyone's waiting for that shoe to drop on with Erik Goodbranson, and they love Goodbranson. I enjoy watching him. He's a tough competitor. I sure wouldn't want to go into a corner with him. That's for sure. The logical place is that he ends up back in Florida. Because that's where he came from and the history that he has there. But this team will have to do something eventually. They're not going to want to pay him the money that he's going to command on the market. But he's been a nice addition. We're all just waiting. And the guy that's suffering right now is Ben Hutton. He's been sitting out, and he's a good young player that they need playing every night in the lineup.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part. Is there any other changes in terms of departures for trade deadline rentals that the Vancouver Canucks are considering or might consider this season?
Well, I think the other one is Thomas Vanek, right? He's been such a nice addition to this team, but at his salary and how he's playing, is he a guy moving forward that you keep around and re-sign for another year, or is he a guy that you try and get something for? At this point, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So if you can get a second or third round pick for him, maybe that's something that they need to look at. So he's another guy. Edler has 2 years left on his contract. He's got a no move, no trade, but his value is probably best of where it is right now. So is that a guy you ask to move to waive his clauses? So there's going to be some interesting things because the Canucks are definitely sellers, I believe, here coming up at the trade deadline, but they've got some good young kids coming in for next year, the year after. It's exciting. Yeah,
it is, and there's reason for optimism with Vancouver. And notice, neither of us said the names Henrik or Daniel Sedin because they won't be going anywhere, despite what some will suggest over the next 7 weeks. Hey, Corey, I want to ask you too about some of the comments from Trevor Linden. He was asked about the Canucks first half at his media availability a couple of days ago, and I guess some are suggesting because he didn't come out and proclaim Jim Banning is the greatest general manager ever, and he for sure will be with us for the next 10 years. There are some that are trying to read into that. I don't think that you should read too much into it. I think Jim Benning's done a pretty nice job with what he's had to work with and in trying to update and change this roster.
And you just said it exactly. I think he's done a great. They are faced. This team has faced Trevor Linden and Jim Benning with the monumental task of, okay, well, they've got two aging superstars. Now, what do? You have to rebuild a team because these guys moving forward are not going to be your stars. So they have to rebuild and get new stars, and they've done a nice job of the draft. Besser, Pedersen kid. The thing that is going to, if anything hurts Jim, it's going to be the Louis Eriksson deal, right? He makes $8 million this year for very little production, and that, if anything, will hurt Jim Benning. But they've done a really good, there's a plan, there's a future, there's hope, right? And that's, as a fan, that's what you want to see. You want to see a plan. You want to see good young players, something that's happening, and gives you something to cheer about. I mean, there's other teams around the league that don't have that. And I think Trevor Linden and Jim Benning have done a nice job of creating hope and optimism within this organization.
I agree with you. And I think the Louis Eriksson deal was made at a different time when the approach was significantly different from the Vancouver Canucks. So it's one thing to say, wow, how could you sign him to that big money deal? But yeah, that was at a different time several years ago. That was the approach, that we don't believe that we're in the type of shape that requires us to turn over the entire roster.
Yeah, and what team doesn't have one bad contract? It really, like, every team has one bad. I mean, Edmonton has the Lucic, and we all like Lucic, but is he worth that? You're right. I mean, every team has one that they would like to get rid of, and that's just what it is. That's the way it is. And Louis is a good teammate. He's a good guy, and we don't know what goes on in the locker room, right? Maybe he's valuable there. So it's just the way it is. It's the salary cap era. But as far as the cap goes, the Canucks are going to have $14 million to play with next year without the Sedin's deal. So they're in a really good position.
Look forward to that. Corey Hirsch, who will be on the call tonight, the Vancouver Canucks Radio Network, at Corey Hirsch to follow him on Twitter. Enjoy the game, pal, and look forward to having you back and talking again soon. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Always enjoy it. Anytime, man.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Corey Hirsch on the Vancouver Canucks Radio Network tonight as they are in Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs, one of 9 on the schedule. We'll tee up more of the games and action on today's schedule. Look ahead to tomorrow as well. Still a whole bunch of stories that we haven't been able to squeeze in yet, but we'll do our best. And if we don't get to some final Winter Classic thoughts or all-star stuff, we'll squeeze that in tomorrow on our Sunday program between 11 and 1. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. Still a few minutes to sneak in your nomination for the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day for today. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us photo, send us video of your dog. Tell us your name, your dog's name, how you two met. If there's a nice story that goes along with it, we pick a Dog of the Day every Saturday just because we're dog friendly and we love dogs. We'll put the picture up on our website and our Facebook page. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with our Book of the Month author, Steve Currier, right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is flying by here to the top of the hour in advance of 6 games on the Saturday NHL schedule. A busy one. We'll be back again tomorrow, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Check us out at hockeyunfiltered.com. Also streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, which you can download at the App Store. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. A busy Saturday, but I'm anxious and looking forward to talking to our next guest. He is the author of our book of the month. We designate a book that we think is interesting and worthwhile and encourage you to check out every month. And this month, it is the California Golden Seals, a tale of white skates, red ink, and one of the NHL's most outlandish teams. The author is Stephen Currier, and he joins us on the line now. Steve, thanks for the time today. We appreciate it. And what was the motivation to explore this brief but colorful history, we'll say, of the California Golden Seals?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons why I thought it was an interesting team, but I think one of the reasons is I have a sort of morbid fascination, I think, with failure for some reason. I find old defunct franchises to be very interesting, whether it's like the World Hockey Association or the American Basketball Association or the St. Louis Browns or any of these other teams. And but the Seals just seem to be probably the pinnacle of weirdness and failure. And even as a kid, I would find these old hockey cards with their uniforms, and they were very brightly colored, and the strange looking logo on the front. So I think seeing a lot of these old photos and just little blurbs once in a while, hearing about white skates and the eccentric owners, and just the inability to really do anything much in the standings. Like every year was a struggle, and I think I just always had to find out why was this team always had such a hard time to get by, and it just started with a few little. A little bit of research that I would do even as a teenager, looking through an old media guide that I got from the NHL offices, and when the internet came around, being able to do a little bit more in-depth research, and then as I got into my 20s and early 30s, and I was able to find these like newspaper archives online, where I was able to get some real good information and some interesting answers to all the questions I had. So it's a bit of a combination of all that really persuaded me to start doing the research. And then once I started getting really into it, it just kind of developed into a book.
The thinking, I guess, of the NHL at the time was to expand west. There would be a natural connection in terms of geography with the Los Angeles Kings, who also had pretty outlandish uniforms at that particular time. And maybe that's why the California Golden Seals went with the color scheme that they chose. But I almost wonder, because the Sharks have been such a successful franchise too, that it was just an idea that was almost a bit too far ahead of its time, that we weren't as connected as we are now. The LA Kings were kind of the lone franchise out west, and this was trying to put another stake in the ground, if you will, with the California Golden Seals.
Yeah, there was a reason why they put a few reasons why they put the Seals in Oakland, because before expansion came along, the Seals had a very successful minor league team in the Western Hockey League. So that was one of the reasons why they thought it would be a great idea to put a team in San Francisco, as that's where the team was originally, in the Western Hockey League. They were actually very good. They won 2 championships in the Western Hockey League, and their attendance was actually one of the best in the league, ahead of other places where you'd think that the attendance would be higher. There would be more of a hockey market, but the Seals did quite well in San Francisco. So I think that was one of the reasons why they thought putting an NHL team there would make a lot of sense. Not to mention the fact that the NHL television contract in '67 demanded that there be a team in Los Angeles and in the Bay Area. So if the NHL wanted to have any extensive television coverage with these new franchises coming in, they almost had to put a team in the Bay Area. So it was kind of a combination of those factors that convinced the league that San Francisco was a good location for a team. I think the Seals could have been a success at the time they were there. The market had proven to be capable of sustaining a team. Like Los Angeles, maybe in the beginning their attendance wasn't as high as it is now, but there were definitely reasons why a team could be successful in those markets. I think one of the big factors was the ownership was not very competent in some times. Like when Charlie Finley came in and he decided to give this team these bright yellow uniforms and yellow skates, yellow and green skates at first, and then white skates. He was very cheap, so he let a lot of his players go to the World Hockey Association instead of giving them a little bit of a raise in salary. So the Seals definitely had, they could have been successful where they were. There was definitely the elements in place to be successful. They had lots of really good players who went on to have excellent careers elsewhere. But because of, I think, sometimes managerial incompetence and this kind of cheap ownership or ownership that just didn't really seem to care very much about the team, that's what really doomed them to failure. LA had a little bit more, I guess, a better structure, and they had a bit more stability at the top. So I think that's one of the reasons why they managed to survive as long as they did. And then once they kind of got out of the woods and got out of those initial years, they were able to actually build on that and survive long enough to get Gretzky, and then from there they just kind of took off.
Steve Currier is our guest. He is the author of the California Golden Seals, Tale of White Skates and Red Ink. So the common denominator of good management, good ownership is something that has proven to be successful in whatever sports league and continues to this day. But some of the choices and decisions that were made, you alluded to, the Charlie Finley with, and I guess I understand the thinking that, look, he had a successful baseball team. Maybe he can own a hockey team and there will be synergies and it'll all come together. But he let his baseball team wither away too. But as opposed to the yellow, the California Golden Seals also wore white skates. And now I look at the Vegas Golden Knights and they're wearing white gloves. It's not quite the white skates thing. And they didn't actually paint the white gloves, but they painted the skates of the California Golden Seals players white because they thought that would be part of the team identity, except they had to keep painting them and they got heavier and heavier as the season went along.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the players did. I wasn't sure if the players were just kind of kidding when they said that, but and I asked them repeatedly, and I think they were very serious about it when I'd say, like, with the truth, the white skates got heavier, and said, yeah, like, because when you get scuff marks and puck marks on the skates, they wouldn't look pristine anymore. And Finley insisted that the skates be like perfectly white. So trainers would have to take latex house paint of all things, and they would paint the skates over. And especially in the first season, they had them in 71, 72. You could even find pictures of the team just skating around, and they're bright white skates. They almost disappear when you see them on the ice surface. The year after, I think they put a little bit of green on the skates, so it kind of stood out a little bit differently. But that first year, they were bright white, and the players would say that they would get heavier and heavier because they're just putting a layer over another layer over another layer. And I'm not sure if this was something I kind of thought of after I wrote the book, but I'm not really sure if it had any significance. But it seems that when the white skates came in January of '72, the Seals were actually doing quite well that year. They were in a playoff position. As soon as the skates came in, a few weeks after that, you could see the team was starting to lose more and more regularly. And towards the end of the season, the last month, they barely won any games at all. So was it because the white skates were getting so heavy that they were literally losing a foot, a step or two on other teams? It might have been, but it certainly seemed coincidental that when the skates were getting heavier and heavier, the team seemed to be losing more and more games.
It's funny how outrageous things like this happened in that era. It doesn't really happen anymore when new teams come in as expansion franchises from other leagues. But just hearing these stories is sensational. Are the players and people that you talked with for the book okay with it now? I mean, at the time, I'm sure they were incredibly frustrated, but enough time has passed, I guess, that they can kind of chuckle and laugh about it now.
Oh yeah, most of them had some interesting stories about it. Marshall Johnson, who was one of their players, and he later became one of their coaches. He was telling me about a story about he was in, I think it was in Boston one time, and some guy hollered down from the crowd and said, "Hey Johnson, where's your purse?" So the players used to get comments like that too. Gilles Meloche used to say they used to be called sissies and figure skaters, and it was pretty rough at the time for them, I think. But now they look back and they kind of laugh. Morris Mott, who I talked to for the book as well, he still has his pair of white skates, the white with the green trim skates. He still has those at home. I think he donated another pair to the Hall of Fame. So the players now look back on it, the Finley green luggage that he gave to all the players, the ugly green jackets that the players all wear on the road, the white also. The players kind of look back on it now and say, like, this was just a a crazy, weird roller coaster ride. Thank God we're not having to do anything to do with it anymore. But it was interesting at the time, but thank God we don't have to do it now. And it's fun to look back on it now, though.
Yeah, now, of course, this would never get off the ground now, but how they actually used live seals as mascots?
This was something that Finley thought would be a great idea. And when he first bought the team in 1970, he thought it'd be a great idea to have a live seal mascot. He had some sort of weird obsession with animals, it seemed. He had his famous mule, Charlie O, that he would parade out during Oakland A's games. And he thought he would be able to get himself a live seal to go out on center ice before the games, and the kids would love it, and this would be a great little mascot. Well, of course, as you know, seals are used to living in very cold climates, so when the seal would be on the ice, he just laid there because he was very comfortable, no matter how many fans were in the crowd. So, that was the end of the seal mascot pretty quickly because the seal just wasn't going to do anything. He was just going to lay on the ice anyway.
That's amazing. That's just remarkable. And all of this stuff took place over a relatively short period of time too, before the franchise moved on and eventually landed in another city. That's the other part, is that this was a very short window that the Seals existed.
Oh yeah, and the book covers, I think, a total of 17 years. It covers their 6 years in the Western League very briefly, and then their 9 years in Oakland, and then the 2 years in Cleveland, and then the aftermath when the Cleveland Barons merged with the Minnesota North Stars. So it was a very, very short period of time. That being said, there really isn't a lot of information or even photos in different books and elsewhere. There really isn't a lot of information out there and photographic evidence. So you really have to dig deep and to find any kind of proof that the team existed. It's a team that's really been buried in history. They're overshadowed, obviously, by the Philadelphia Flyers, the Montreal Canadiens, the Boston Bruins, and the others. And so they were there for quite a long time when you think about it, a good 17 years or so, but there isn't a lot of proof out there. You really have to dig deep on the internet and in books to just find proof that they did exist, in fact. Steve
Currier is the author, our guest. Author of the book, California Golden Seals, Tale of White Skates, Red Ink, and one of the NHL's most outlandish teams. We appreciate the time, Steve. Thank you for this. We're looking forward to diving deeper into the book. We'll be talking about it all month as our book of the month, and enjoy the success that you'll generate from it. We appreciate the time today.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, and hope you have a great day.
I appreciate it. Steve Currier, the author. The name of the book again, The California Golden Seals, Tale of White Skates, Red Ink, and one of the NHL's most outlandish teams. The funny thing now is Seals logoed memorabilia, whether it's hats or T-shirts, still sell and still have, there's almost a kind of cult following. In fact, I bought a Seals hat, I think it was, for my nephew a few years ago for his birthday. He thought it was the greatest thing. Just, oh yeah, that's great, California Golden Seals. But having the live Seals out on the ice as a mascot, I can just see these big lumbering seals, because they have them out on the West Coast and in San Francisco and out on the piers. You can see them, but having these big giant seals out on the ice, it's, oh, when animals and live animals and NHL teams and events, or hockey teams and events, it can go wrong pretty quickly. There was a great one a couple of years ago. It was the Bakersfield Condors, who had, of course, a live condor out on the ice, and during the national anthem, it kind of got loose and went over to the bench to visit the players, and the players weren't too keen on this thing flying and landing on their bench. Oh, yeah. But the name of the book again, California Golden Seals, Tale of White Skates, Red Ink, and one of the NHL's most outlandish teams. The author is Steve Currier. We'll squeeze in as much as we can in our final segment up to the top of the hour at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. We'll have our Dog of the Day winner for today. We'll get you set for a 9-game Saturday schedule and much more. Coming right back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with SeatGiant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Saturday edition, coming to a close here to the top of the hour. Fun show today. Lots of good stories, lots of good talk, lots of good conversation about the NHL and hockey. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow, Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, live at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. You can subscribe to our podcast. Don't forget, through iTunes, through iHeartRadio, and yes, they are also available on the Hockey Unfiltered app. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. If you need lots of characters, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. It is a busy Saturday in the National Hockey League with 9 games on the schedule. I like the afternoon action. There's an afternoon contest on the schedule. That would be the St. Louis Blues and Philadelphia Flyers. It's a 1 p.m. Eastern start. Oh, yes. Braden Shen returns to Philadelphia. Oh, having an awesome season. Could be interesting, don't you think? What an awesome season he is having as a member of the St. Louis Blues. Blues are looking for their 4th consecutive victory as well. The Philadelphia Flyers, they're trying to stay close. They're trying to stay close. I think they're going to come up a little short. But again, like a few other teams in the NHL, lots of good young talent. There's reason for optimism. It might not happen this year, but there's reason for optimism. Edmonton Oilers also in an afternoon game. It's a 3 p.m. Eastern time start. Oilers opening up a 5-game roadie. Stars are very good at home. They are 15-5-1 on home ice. And like most games this season, I'm just not sure which Edmonton Oilers team is going to show up. I'm just really not sure which Edmonton Oilers team is going to show up. Could it be the Edmonton Oilers team that won 4 straight games going into the Christmas break? Or will it be the disappointing Edmonton Oilers team that lost 4 straight games after the holiday break? I mentioned this before. Patrick Maroon serving his suspension, 2nd game. Edmonton Oilers made a deal, by the way, the other day, acquiring a goaltender, Al Montoya from the Montreal Canadiens. Laurent Brossoit was placed on waivers. They want to send him to the minors, but he has to clear waivers first. Frank Corrado was also placed on waivers by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Another part of the Edmonton Oilers story with the Patrick Maroon suspension. That happened earlier in the week. I talked about it on the Little Saturday podcast a bit. They hadn't ruled on the decision at the time for his hit on LA Kings defenseman Drew Doughty. He was penalized for interference. And the suspension is he was subsequently suspended 2 games for interference. That was the call. Now, I have seen interference in games all season long that has not been called on plays like that, where the player was in close proximity to the puck. No, Drew Doughty didn't touch the puck, but it was close. He was trying to play it. He missed it. He didn't get it. That's fine. I'm not upset about that. I like a real tight standard. This is the rule. This is what you have to adhere to. I'm okay with that. But both of the refs that were on the ice, as well as the Department of Player Safety, when he was suspended him for interference. He was not penalized nor suspended for the head hit. And that's the real offense. That's the real issue, isn't it? It's the headshot. Watch the video on this one. Watch the player safety explanation video. He is fully intending to run Doughty. He doesn't lift up his elbow. He doesn't point his shoulder directly, but he is fully intent on clobbering him and hitting him in the head. It seems that though there are referees that are reluctant to call a penalty for a headshot. And I'm not sure why, because that's what took place here. Sure, it was interference, but it was a headshot. It was a targeted head hit. We don't want headshots. Everybody always says, oh, there's no place for that in the game. We'll call them when it happens. It seems as though there is a reluctance to label a player as having committed a head check or an illegal check to the head. Good for Garrett Rank and Brian Pochmara, who earlier in the week in the San Jose Montreal Canadiens game did call Paul Byron for the head check. That's what it is. That's what it should be labeled. Other games today, Carolina is at Boston. That's a good matchup. That is a good matchup. Carolina has climbed out of their poor start, hanging around in the playoff spot now. Bruins, one of the biggest surprises of the year to me, going for their third straight win. They're even at 50 points with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Bruins are second in the Atlantic because they have played 4 fewer games than the Maple Leafs. That's a good matchup to watch. Toronto, good young talent in action at Air Canada Centre. Brock Besser of the Vancouver Canucks, and the Leafs, of course, have themselves Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, among others. Other games, Rangers and Arizona. Yes, it's the Derek Stepan, Antti Ranta playing their former team. Chris Kreider, by the way, the bad news, he is out indefinitely, has to have surgery to correct that blood clot problem. That's a shame. Nashville, LA Kings, excuse me. This is worth staying up for. No Philip Forsberg, but the Preds are okay. We didn't get into it today, but I will talk about the NHL All-Star Weekend that is coming up in Tampa in 3 weeks' time. Looking forward to that. Little fuss about the captains that were named. Not so much the captains that were named, but there were no vote tallies given. And also, we put out on Twitter, it's up on our Facebook page as well, the All-Star jerseys. I love them. I think they're great. Now, not everybody likes the bright colors, but I love them. I think they're in the same fashion as the Team North America colors and garb that I happen to be wearing today, which I really like. So we'll get into that. Maybe a few Winter Classic final thoughts and whatever else we can squeeze in. What else are we looking forward to this weekend? Here's something to keep an eye on. I expect the usual assortment of saves, goals, and all that kind of stuff today. You can expect that on a nightly basis. I am also expecting lots and lots of what will this team do at the deadline talk to really ramp up. It's only about 7 weeks until the trade deadline, so you got to get your alleged rumor in there for consideration. The first of what will be several cautions as we move ahead in 2018 towards the deadline. Do not believe all the suggested and possible trades. There will be a lot of feces thrown at the wall in hopes that it makes a stain and gets some attention for the person that flung it. Some guys have built a whole website based on this nonsense. Do not buy into it. There will be a whole bunch of drama that people will try to create over the next number of weeks. I'm okay talking about trade ideas. I'm okay talking about suggestions. I like where you try to find a good fit for both teams. But as we see every year, there will be lots of garbage talk too. Consider yourself alerted. There will be more warnings as we get closer to the trade deadline, but expect that to come. Thanks to Steve Currier, to Corey Hirsch, to Sean Leahy, to Scott Billeck, all for joining us on the program today. Enjoy a good day of hockey with 9 games on the schedule. A busy Sunday with 10 more games on the schedule. We'll be back at our regular time, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And Steve Laidlaw with Fantasy Help tomorrow, #Fantasy5. Oh, got to get it in quickly before we leave. Our dog of the day, Poe the Palm Puppy, submitted by @Ham66. Check it out on Twitter. Be up on our Facebook page and website as well. Have a great day of hockey. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more tomorrow.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to seatgiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.